of survivor, identity, and generation trauma. Roni, so nice to meet you. And thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. So, Ronnie, I think my first question is why did you decide to write this novel inspired by your grandfather's story?
So I'm a journalist, as you mentioned, I think 37, 38 years now. And back when I started this, though, probably I still was a very experienced published journalist, and I was a writer. And so when my grandfather left cassette tapes of his life, his adventures, and his near-death experiences in Europe and in America. And I saw a story there. At first, I just wrote it as a column, which I'm more comfortable with. That's something that I've done before. And then I expanded it upon it. Now, what made it interesting was all the different adventures and risks at his for his life, along the way. So he was told he was terminal with tuberculosis at 26, and he lived till 86. He was an experimental case for streptomycin, which is still used today to treat tuberculosis, the largest infectious disease killer in the world. My grandparents died on the same date of each other, a year apart, and they were the same age when they died. All these different ironic episodes made me think that there was some story here that other people might also relate to. Those were just three of the stories. There are more. There was a workplace shooting spree. There was the Holocaust. My grandparents didn't survive the Holocaust. They got out before the Holocaust, but they lost most of their family in the Holocaust. So all these little bits of drama made me think that I would write a book about his life.
Hmm. And so you wrote it as a fiction or as a memoir?
I wrote it as fiction. And the
Okay.
reason why was because I wanted to protect the innocent who are still alive, who are depicted in the book, and also to have some literary license, not to have to stick to all the facts and to play with some of the facts, which is not something that I'm used to. But I felt like that was important if it wasn't going to be totally literal, because I did not know what they spoke about back then. I liked the facts, but I thought I could make them much more dramatic than they were. And I wanted to change all the names. So making up dialogue between those several points, I decided that it should be fiction, or at least labeled as fiction based on a true story.
Hmm. And how was it taking like the process of listening to the tapes and then from the tapes creating the manuscript? Did you just transcribe it by hand? If you can just take us through like kind of the technical journey of how you created this from like audio tapes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I did transcribe the tapes, but then I went back and did a lot of research in archives and family history centers. Well, there's a family history center, and there's the National Archives and census data. And I wanted it to be historically accurate, so I did a lot of research into the time period. And of course, I made up the dialogue. There wasn't dialogue. It was just straightforward one person talking. And I thought that was a little monotone. So I wanted to make it more exciting by having interactions between people. I had read more fiction than I had read nonfiction, even though I'm basically a nonfiction writer by
Mm.
trade. But it was a process of transcribing, researching, massaging the information, and embellishing the information and organizing into a logical sequence of events.
Hmm. And I noticed when I went to your website, you won tons of awards. Congrats. This is very
Thank you.
impressive. So
Thank you.
how did you win these awards? Did you apply? Did they approach you? How was the process of you winning all these awards?
So there were six, and I applied. The first one was Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award Contest. That was way back in 2009. I had entered several times. That was the sign that the book may have something. I was
Okay.
waiting for it to win an award to know how it would do, what anyone thought about it, because I didn't know. And also, I had trouble finding a publisher. It's not so easy for unknown authors to find a professional publisher, and that I was holding out for that. I was still young then, and that was the golden ticket per se, that you get a publisher and go through their process of screening and be good enough. So I won Amazon Breakthrough Novel Award Contest. I was a quarterfinalist. And then when the book came out, it won the 5 more awards. And yes, I did enter them. I was a finalist. So I started out as a quarterfinalist, and then I was a finalist for American Fiction Awards. And then I won, I might have won another finalist. Um, and I was a winner of the International Book Awards for Multicultural Fiction, and also the Global Book Awards gold medal winner. So there's, bronze, silver, and gold. And I won the gold level for biographical literary fiction, I believe, or by historical biography. I'm forgetting what the name of it is, but it was recognized there. And then I won American Legacy Book Awards. I was a finalist for that. That was my last one last year, and that one they because I had entered American Fiction and International, it's the same company. So they threw me into the ring for the Legacy Award, and I won. I was a finalist for that, for multicultural fiction. So the awards are multicultural fiction, family saga. There was a Best Book Award for Reader's Choice Book Awards. I'm not actually sure how I won that one. That might have been another one where I asked for, they might have reviewed my book and then chose it. I forget how that one worked, but a number of them I entered the contest.
Hmm. Fascinating, and congrats again.
Thank
So
you.
you mentioned the publisher, and I'm curious about your publishing journey. Did you look for an agent, hybrid publisher, independent, traditional, all of that? So if you can walk us through your publishing journey and how did you publish your book?
Yes, so I tried agents, and that didn't quite work out well for me. My book it's Holocaust, it's immigrant. It's really more an immigrant story coming to America, trying to make a life for oneself when you have health challenges, and you have language barriers, and the same challenges that immigrants face today, and they're there's a lot of backlash against that. And my grandfather did have TB, so he did struggle with that for a good bit of his life, his early life. So um, it, it definitely was a niche, area, and not everyone wanted to take it on. A lot of those that got published by Amsterdam publishers will tell you that eventually that's who published my novel is Amsterdam publishers. They are supposedly the largest publisher of Holocaust memoirs in Europe, but the authors, some 100 authors titles within this publisher, that this publisher took on after many of us were told no by others because nobody wants to read another immigrant story. But
Uh-huh.
there's so many immigrant stories out there that
Here
are
is one.
doing amazing, and yours. So if everyone listened to somebody who had an opinion, um, we wouldn't keep pushing further. I knew I had something. I'm a
Okay.
journalist. I know what makes the story. I knew there
Exactly.
was something there, and I had won the awards. So it was like I don't understand, but I had a publisher, and uh, I scared her off, I think, because I was worried about anyone suing me, and so I wanted legal protections, and she got cold feet. So I worked with her for 2 years, and she did make the book better. And then about 6 months after I lost her, I got my Amsterdam publishers. But along the way, I'll go back and tell you, I thought I had some 200 rejections, but I counted them one day, and I kept all the paperwork, from every single one. Those were the ones that responded. Imagine how many didn't respond. And there were 50, around 50. I could have sworn it was 200 because I had big folders, of everyone telling me no. And I guess I refused to give up, just like my grandfather refused to give up on himself when they told him you're going to die at 26 from this death sentence of a condition, medical condition. And he got lucky, and he pushed through, and then he raised 5 children and many grandchildren, including me,
Hmm.
who wrote this book about him. Yeah.
Oh wow. So the Amsterdam publisher is their names they're based in Amsterdam, or are they named? Sorry, I did not get
They're
that
not
part.
based in Amsterdam, but
Okay.
they're in the Netherlands. So,
Ah,
and
okay.
they thought it was appropriate because of Anne Frank, I'm sure.
Ah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And how
so,
did you find them? Like research?
so I'm on a Facebook group that my cousin, actually, I have a couple of cousins that are writers and authors, and it's interesting because one cousin put me in touch with her publisher, who was my first publisher, and another cousin told me that she had seen where some other authors had gotten success by publishing through Amsterdam publishers, and I sent it to them, and they liked it.
Oh,
So
wow.
basically, I had two publishers. So I had two yeses along the way. I just happened to have, scared off the first one. I did, in fact, get an LLC, and my second publisher said, and my Amsterdam publisher said, if they sue, they'll sue you, not her. So she wasn't concerned.
Mm. So why do you think why were you worried about being sued?
So it is a family story,
Okay.
and I was concerned that one of my family members was not too happy about me writing the book because I didn't ask permission to use the tapes in this way, and thought I commercialized it and their story, and also I embellished it, and I can understand her concerns about how I depicted some of the family members in a way that might make children their children cringe a little bit, because there is sex in the book, and there's sex in the Bible.
Mm.
So I figured that was okay. But it's a love story. They were married for 65 years. They had 5 children. Do the math, So, and I also depicted my grandmother as being a sexy woman, which she was for that period of time. And she was an actress or singer on Broadway, on not Broadway, in the Yiddish theater, and she I don't she was performer. She was a singer, not an actress, but in essence, she was a person who was fashionable, and she was a performer. So she had a youth and sexiness to her that I wanted to bring out, as because she became a strong matriarch in the family, but we all start out young, and she was confident, and I wanted all of that in there, that confidence that went along with eventually having to be the breadwinner in a family when her husband was in and out of rehab for tuberculosis. So I needed to create her character, and that was part of it. But that might make a family member angry or question why I did that.
Yeah, which actually, you bring a very compelling kind of discussion topic, which is how do authors protect themselves from being sued? And the reason I ask this is I do book coaching, and that is the number one fear that my clients face, especially if they're writing memoirs. Is what if I write about like my ex partner and I don't put him in a good light? Would he come after me? How do I protect
Mm-hmm.
myself? Where do we draw the line? So, how would you answer these questions based on your experience?
So don't let it hold you back, I suppose. I see lots of authors who put in celebrity names, the real celebrity names, and as long as it's fiction, I think you're okay. I got an LLC. It was recommended that I get a limited liability corporation protection,
Mm,
some government protections. I mean, I do everything by the book. It's costing me money to do that. I created a corporation for myself. So I have a company to that oversees my book. It's just me, but it's an incorporation. I've been incorporated. I pay my sales tax. So I don't want any kind of problems based on this business. I'm trying to avoid all of that. This is a business. I do, sell books, so hopefully more and more books. But I think it's important to have that protection. It was recommended to me. I probably shouldn't have told my publisher that. I don't
mm,
know why she was so concerned. It would have protected her too, I think. So I moved on. It was very depressing, but I moved on, and I held out, and I got a publisher who was willing to take me on. So it
hmm,
wasn't the book itself. It was concerns about being sued, and everyone's got to make a decision that feels right for them. What I would say is, don't let it hold you back. I had a lot of imposter syndrome, as they call it, for being an author. Was I good enough? I second guessed myself, and that held me back. It's you put yourself out there, and you don't know what the reaction is going to be from anyone.
mm,
Will anyone even read the book? Is it even any good?
yeah.
And you just got to have more confidence in yourself. Somebody like myself who's used to being published, I probably shouldn't have held myself back so much in that way.
Hmm.
Just do it.
Fascinating, and I love that you created an LLC to protect yourself. I think that's a pretty good tip for authors who are worried about being sued, at least in the US. I think that's probably the protection you get in the US. All right, I'm gonna switch gears a bit here, and I want to talk about marketing. Uh, from what I'm seeing, you seem like you're doing really well when it comes to marketing. I mean, based on the awards, I mean, even like I can notice the details. You have the book in the back, like all of these, like are really shows that you know what you're doing when it comes to marketing. So if you can tell us and help the listeners and the aspiring authors, what are you doing in terms of marketing, and what worked, what was like the in terms of the highest ROI, and what didn't work for you? So the floor is yours, Ronnie.
So I have a website designer. I don't do that myself. She's overseas, and she helps me with making sure my website is up to date. I do book talks. I do book sales. I do. I've entered these contests, and I've had articles written about me. I'm on social media. And what has worked best for me is actually lining up book sales. Um, Barnes and Noble has been really receptive to having me come and talk to sell books there. Um, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but um, I will tell you that I have done videos, and I have done um, I on
Hi, sorry, it
my
looks like I
Facebook.
lost you for a bit. Sorry,
Okay.
it looks like I lost you for a bit. It's okay. I'm just gonna go back to the same question, which is about your marketing technique. So, if sorry about the technical issue. Yeah. So, if you can tell me a bit about your marketing techniques.
So I do have a website administrator or designer, creator. So she works on the website as far as that's concerned. I spend a lot of time pitching to newspapers, to book clubs, to bookstores to have me in their bookstore. I've had a lot of success with larger retailers allowing me to one local large retail online retailer and bookstore allowing me to come there and sell my books because I sell a dozen books at a time or so to those that are coming into the store by being there and saying, I'm a local author, and I'll tell you a little bit about my book, why you should buy my book. And that seems to be very grassroots, hands-on. And, that seems to be the best for me right now. And I was in a big book festival with Nikki Haley and John
Oh,
Meacham and Michael Oren and Melissa Rivers, daughter of Joan Rivers, and um, the daughter of Paul Newman, and Andrew Young, and um, let's see, Benjamin Netanyahu was remote, um, and who did I miss? Bernie Marcus. And I have a connection with media as a journalist. So I've had some stories in different publications, including the Jerusalem Post and the Washington Jewish Week, among the bigger ones. Um, I'm in libraries. This is my publisher, has a lot to do with that. I'm told I'm in the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C.,
hmm.
gift shop. I haven't been able to confirm that lately, but I had seen a picture of it a while back that the book was there. Um, and again, it's in libraries all over the country and also in the National Library in Israel. Um, and I think those are the main ways that I market myself and that have been successful. Going and speaking to people, going and speaking and giving up a Saturday and spending several hours at a store, at a bookstore, and trying to interest people in the book has been really pretty successful for me. And I've been doing it for a couple of months now, maybe for actually I started a year ago. And getting there, setting up. and being a local author versus all the other books in the store, it seems to be very grassroots, and it seems to sell books quickly, on one day. And then hopefully people will tell others about the book. That big book festival and this, very hands on, those have been the best.
Hmm.
Social media is great for keeping me in touch with the audience. And I've had some successes there on occasion. The book's been out a couple of years, so it gets harder as you go along, as you get further away from when it was released.
Hmm.
Is that helpful at all?
Yeah, yeah, it is helpful. I mean, I've been kind of thinking a lot about this. Most of the authors that I talk to, the what works for them is kind of grassroots, as you said, efforts rather than like posting on social media and all of that. Because I was under the impression, the mistaken impression, is just post on social media and like build it and they will come, and that did not actually work out as I'd hoped, because people on social media like and comments and whatever, but do they actually purchase your book?
Correct. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're doing great, and I saw you were also on Good Morning America way back. Was that you?
uh,
So that must have helped. I don't know. That was a bad situation back then, but exposure. I think
yeah,
exposure,
yeah,
regardless, good
yeah,
or bad. I think,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but for you,
Yeah,
it
I've been
worked.
on many TV stations, like,
Yes.
yeah, since like for 20 years, because I'm a journalist like yourself, and there's always a story happening, and we always like get pulled into it. But yeah, I mean, what you said, and this is something that I heard from many authors, and it's kind of changing my perspective, which is book festivals, local events, your local library, actually being present and putting your book in the hands of readers face to face. That's what's gonna move the needle, not like the tweets and the Facebook post.
I
I
think it depends. I
Yeah,
really do. I think you can have your following like you have, and it can work in your favor too.
yeah. You mentioned something which is I've also been noticing a lot. You mentioned the Facebook group. And I think that's kind of a hidden secret, which is the Facebook. Some people say, "Oh, I don't go on Facebook," la, 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 but there is this secret to Facebook, which is the private Facebook groups. And I've heard so many people get opportunities, book deals. They meet people through those private Facebook groups. So if you can tell us about the writing Facebook groups that you join and how they this influence. So like obviously you found your publisher through this Facebook group. So what groups do you belong to?
So authors helping authors,
Mm,
they're authors supporting authors, new authors, binders, women's
yeah,
binders
yeah,
groups. Um, uh, I belong to some that are in readers groups. I don't want to totally give away all the names because then I'd be excluding others, but
mm,
I would look up your genre. I would look up your interests, and there's a author group for it, for you.
hmm,
Um,
hmm,
uh, so I'm gonna hold back on the names of them
yeah,
specifically,
yeah,
but I mentioned a few. But I think people have to find what works for them. What works for me is, maybe related to my religion, and the readers that would be interested in my book, um,
you
are
hope, yeah,
different,
yeah,
but there's so many Facebook groups out there. I'm all over social media. Let's not discount social media as a way to reach readers. I haven't found as much luck on X as I did on Facebook and LinkedIn. My son, who's an actor in LA, created a TikTok for me. I have Instagram. I'm not really working those as much as
Yeah.
Facebook and LinkedIn, I was all over the place. I had 4 Facebook groups, one for my book. I'm sorry, 4 Facebook accounts, one for my book, one for one a private page for my book, and then I'm Roni Robbins, but I also have a maiden name and the Roni Kane Robbins, and I use that one the most because people from my former life also can relate to me there. They don't really know Roni Robbins. They know
Mm.
Roni Kane, Kayne, Roni Kane Robbins. So that's the one I use most often. But I have 2 X accounts, one for being a journalist. And so I went a little bit haywire on some of this at the start and realized I just don't have time for that.
Hmm.
So I just post on Facebook, and I find that people are responsive and sometimes will comment. But really, to get those are the people that already know me. They're already reading my book. They already read the book. Now it's time to get new people. I have to go out there and press the flesh, as they say. Get talk to the readers themselves who are walking into the big bookstores, and I sign the books, and they get all excited. Sometimes, oh, you're an author. So it makes you feel good, and you get exposed to different opportunities for maybe something bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what does the future hold for Ronnie Robbins? What do you have in the works now?
So I'm still freelancing for my local newspaper in Atlanta, and also for Medscape WebMD. So I still have that to bring in some money to pay the bills. And I'm writing my next novel, which is loosely based on my dad's life.
Mm.
Um, and so the working title is A Mighty Hand, Hands of Gold, I'm sorry, A Mighty Arm. So A
Okay.
Mighty Arm, and goes along with Hands of Gold. And some of the characters from the book are in the new book. So I started it and ended it, and I'm filling in the middle because I feel like the beginning and the ending are the easiest to write and also the most powerful
Hmm. Are you
for
going to
me.
use the same publisher?
Only if I have enough Holocaust in it. I don't know how
Mm.
much Holocaust I have in the book.
Mm.
They are mostly interested in Holocaust stories. They're not as much interested in fiction. So I may have to go branch out further.
Yeah, you can always go to the Facebook group, authors helping authors, and see. But yeah, that's it's fascinating because I heard it from a number of authors, and I talk to a lot of authors. So, well, Ronnie, this has been fascinating and inspiring and eye opening. And is there anything else you would like to say for anything who's listening or watching about your journey, the publishing journey? Any tips for aspiring authors?
Just write, just keep writing, and don't be held back by your own insecurities. Um, it took me some 20 years from start to finish to get a publisher,
Oh,
and
wow.
it shouldn't have to take that long. It took me only about 7 years to write the book, but then I played with it for a long time, and also I got busy with life, and then but I was holding out for something. I didn't know whether it would ever happen. I was glad it did. Don't give up on your dreams. Put as much money as you have to into it. My husband's been very supportive about that. It's your dream, so stick to your path, and hopefully you'll have a book and out someday, and get to check that off your to-do list if that's a goal that you've set for yourself in life. um, so I would just say, just do it, and talk to other authors if you need some help along the way.
Huh? Well, this sounds wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Ronnie, for your time. I enjoyed our conversation and I wish you the best of luck.
You
And,
too.
and for anyone who's listening or watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. And until we meet again.
Thank you.
All right, great.